right in. We're going to start off with our parent members, if they can, our parent panel introducing themselves. Just give a glimpse of what your daily life looks like. So we're going to start off with Juliana, and then.
Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm Juliana. I have two children. I have a recently sassy 4-year-old named Alexandria, and I have a rambunctious 3-year-old son named Warren. So a day in the life for me is just totally going. So right now I'm actually at work, taking a moment to get with you guys. This morning when I woke up, my alarm went off at 6 o'clock.
Hey, Juliana, you got on mute. If you can unmute real quick.
Oh, could you not hear me the whole time?
How about you start over?
Okay. So I'm Juliana, and I have children. I have a 4-year-old recently sassy daughter named Alexandria. I have a 3-year-old son named Warren. They're both very active. I became a mom at a late age. I had my first child when I was 34. And I'm also dual diagnosed, so I'm in recovery from drug and alcohol addiction, and I also suffer from mental health. And this morning when I woke up, the alarm went off at 6 a.m. and I snoozed it. and then I looked at my children sleeping there in the bed, and I thought to myself, all right, Juliana, we got to get up. We got to get moving, So I snoozed the alarm about 4 more times because we stayed up last night. My kids don't like to go to bed at night. I put a post on Facebook a couple days ago about how I wonder, if I'm doing this parenthood thing right, So they say parenthood doesn't come with instructions, and that's completely the honest truth, man. I try my best to guide my children and to help them to make good decisions. And, when they don't, I'm thinking, dang, what am I doing wrong? So it's nothing that I'm doing wrong. My children are just children, and they're going to explore and test boundaries and do things of that nature. I'm really excited to be a part of this panel because, when I think about parenthood and what it means to me, right? And also being a recovering alcoholic and just trying to manage, do I got enough time for my kids? Or I got enough time for work? It's a constant, a constant battle, within myself about creating balance in my life. I also, I've learned some things. I'm also a part of the Choose Well community, and I've learned some things there. So I was thinking about, we was talking yesterday, and I was talking about generational curses and how, like, in my family, you don't speak unless spoken to. My grandparents and great grandparents, they whoop kids, so I'm trying to do things differently. And I'm thinking, and when my kids don't listen, I'm like, should I whoop them? Don't whoop them. It's against the law. So, just trying to balance work and teaching my kids and helping them learn. And I'm real grateful for a very awesome support group, but then, I was also discussing yesterday about how, sometimes I feel like I don't want to accept help. I want to be the mom, I want to be super mom, superhero, and my daughter says that to me quite frequently. She says, Mom, you're my hero. And it just like melts my heart. But at the same time, I just got to realize that it's okay to accept help. It's okay to not have all the answers. It's okay to reach out to other moms and dads to help me through the hard times that I'm having. So nothing, my kids might be one way today. They might be a different way tomorrow. I told you I got a sassy 4-year-old, and she has really became sassy in like the past 2 weeks, and it's been real sassy. Like, whatever. Like, no, I don't want to, and I'm just like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And so I just allow her the opportunity to grow. And I use I took a parenting class and I learned about discipline and taking things away and showing her early on that there's consequences behind bad behavior. And so if I have any advice to give to moms and dads out there, it would be to not be so hard on yourself. We expect for parenthood to be a perfective type skill that we, can't do nothing wrong and we got to do everything perfectly. No, I just come to learn that that's just not going to be the case. It would be to take your time and to help teach your kids and help them grow and help them be the best them that they can be, at the current time, and accept, them for just who they are. I let my kids be kids and let them enjoy life as well. So that's what I got for you guys today.
I really appreciate a lot what Juliana said. I also have, well, my daughter's about to be 4, and she has a very strong leadership personality that I'm trying to keep in the lane of leadership and not go sideways. I'm a mom, a single mom of twins. They're going to be 4 next month. I have boy-girl twins. And I heard a lot, like Juliana was talking about, just like the thoughts that you have as a parent. And it's just, to me, it's just kind of mind-blowing because I'm a parent. And right now there are tons of parents who are parenting at the same time. And then there were tons of people who parented before us. And it still feels like you're reinventing the wheel over and over. Like you just don't know what you're doing. Then you're thinking, some people, she was bringing up like generational curses. Some people had great examples as parents. Some have examples of what not to do, and I just think it's really hard to find that balance. Like, are you being too strict? Are you being too lax? Like, did I do this right? Did I mess up? Like, I constantly think in my head, I don't know if anyone else does, but if one thing goes wrong, I'm like, is this what they're going to talk about in college? Like, are they going to be in their dorm room? Like, my mom did that one thing one day, and that's what ruined the whole course of my life. And I just think that a lot, like that today's the day that I did that thing that they're going to talk about, with their college friends. Yeah, so it's hard. So I'll give, a glimpse into a few days of my life. Like I mentioned, I'm a single mom. And I'm also a solo parent. So I don't co-parent at all. It's really just me, and I have the 2 of them. And I'm a first-time mom, and my son has special needs. So I just have a lot of unique circumstances going on at the same time. So a couple of weeks ago, I had spring break, and it was supposed to be a break, obviously, for work, but I don't really get one because I have my kids 24/7. And my son had a couple of appointments at the Children's Hospital. So Joanna, she was talking about snoozing that alarm. I didn't have that option because I don't know, the traffic always slows down. We go to Cincinnati Children's, and I'm in Central Kentucky, so it's about 2 hours. But like around Florence, traffic gets really bad. So I have to leave early to make sure, in case nothing's going on, to get there on time. So I got up, and then my son's going to a feeding clinic appointment. So I have to like pack all these foods so they can observe him eating, get them dressed. And I don't know, my kids are not very independent, so I have to do everything. I have to put their socks on them, their shoes on them. Then sometimes they take their clothes off before we leave the door. And then I have to redress them or put their shoes back on or find a shoe. And I do not know how we are always missing one shoe every day. It just seems like I don't know, do you take a shoe off? Do they walk around the house without the other one for a while and then they take the other one off? I don't know why we can never find a pair of shoes. But that's a problem. So we had to leave the house by 7:30 to get there on time. And I thought I was doing pretty good. The overthinking comes in. So I'm making sure we have everything. But being the mom, I'm the one that kind of gets, the shaft there when I'm thinking about everybody else. So they had everything they need. Halfway through driving, I realized I didn't have my phone. But we're leaving the state. So now I'm in another state, don't have my phone with me. So usually when we go up there, the Children's Hospital, they give tickets to local attractions. And I try to do that so that they don't associate going to the hospital as like a negative experience. So, we do something fun every time we go. So I got tickets to the zoo. So I start off the day early to get there on time. I have to pack everything. I have to get them out the door. They always fight to get in the car, in their car seats. I drive 2 hours in the morning. We go to the appointment, which took 2 hours. Then we go to the zoo. And this is all on my break, my spring break. So we get to the zoo and I didn't get zoo parking. I normally park across the street, but that lot was full. So I parked like a few blocks away, like just in Cincinnati. And so I have the kid stroller. I'm pushing the stroller to the zoo. I'm already tired by the time I get there. And Cincinnati is just like massively hilly, and the whole zoo is like just hills. So I spent the whole zoo trip pushing them and getting this mildly extreme workout of pushing two 30-pound kids around this thing. And I obviously can't take any pictures because I don't have a phone, which I think the picture was pulled up. I had to ask a random person to if they could take a picture and text it to me. And I'm here feeling like a scammer because I'm like, I don't know if they think I'm trying to get their number. You know, people just don't talk to strangers. And with the pandemic, it's kind of weird to like approach people. So it was really awkward to try to get the photo, but I really wanted it to compare because it was the same place that we did when they were babies. So then after all that, we get home. So it's like about 10 hours now that I didn't have my phone. And I put them to bed. So I should get a break the next day, but I had to host a Zoom meeting. So I had to get up early, and it's still spring break, so everybody's busy. So I asked several people I could not get childcare. So I had no plans on how I was going to get through a Zoom meeting with two kids who also, like Juliana's, have a lot of energy. So I just left it up to snacks, a lot of snacks, miracles, prayer, and that was that. And then I had a click list pickup from Kroger after that. And I barely got my groceries because my food stamp card wasn't swiping. It kept getting rejected. And I don't know if it's their machines, because they come out with this machine, even though you're doing pickup, you can't use the food stamp card online. But the stripe has a scratch on it. So I don't know if it's the card or the machine or both. So another joy of going to the children's hospital, and my son has some sensory issues, is we were at the hospital and the zoo the day before, and he was touching everything, just crawling on the floor, rolling on the floor, like trailing his hands on stuff. So after my Zoom meeting, I realized that he was sick, or he was showing signs of a stomach bug. And with kids, you don't know. You know, it could just be like they ate one bad thing, you know, and that's that. Or they could wake up the next day and be completely sick. It could be like a whole week-long virus thing. So he seemed like he was having, you know, some stomach stuff. But then Sunday he woke up and he threw up all over the couch. So I just finished spring break, which wasn't a break. And now I had to take off work the first day back from spring break. And that's really hard when you're a single parent. You kind of wonder a lot when things like that happen. Like, do people think that you're unreliable? Are you a bad worker? Are you going to get fired and lose your job? Because I don't have childcare. I don't have anybody to ask. I mean, even if I were to hire a babysitter, I can't hire a babysitter when my kids are sick. So I'm home. I'm feeling guilty and anxious about that and how that looks. And I have a sick kid too. And then since I'm home, I'm like, well, let me fix the food stamp card issue. So I call the customer service line to try. I wanted to speak to a person so I could tell them that I have the card, it wasn't stolen, and maybe they could just give me the same number again. But I called and I was on hold for like 15 to 20 minutes. And then once it connected, it hung up. So I called again, and then it connected, and the person asked me what my kid's name was. And that was kind of like a weird introduction. Like, I was like, I'm just calling about the card. And then the person kept saying, hello, hello, and then hung up on me. So I don't know if they didn't hear me. My phone wasn't on mute. So I kept doing that a couple of times. Finally, I give up. I go through the automated system, and it just gives you one option for reporting your card as lost, stolen, or damaged. So they said they were canceling my card and sending me a new one. So spring break was 2 weeks ago, and I just got the new card yesterday. So I have not been able to get groceries. And that's it. Yeah, my life is pretty hectic. That's kind of what goes on a lot. For the most part, I'm just scrambling.
Thank you, Valerie.
Thank you, Valerie. Casey, do you want to go next? You're on mute, Casey.
There we go. Can you hear me now? So I'm Casey, and I have a 16-year-old, and I also have a 7-year-old. He just turned 7. Jace was placed with me when he was a few months old. I got a call in the middle of the night from my niece on my stepfamily side and social services. They said, hey, we are removing this baby just for a weekend, just for an investigation. And your niece said that you have child development and child psychology, and you might be able to help for the weekend. So I asked them, what was going on. They didn't really give me any information. They don't share anything really when it comes to minors. And they said, well, it's just a weekend, but we know something is wrong with the infant. We're just not really sure what yet. And we don't have like a foster mom or a crisis mom who could handle this for the weekend. So could you take him for the weekend? So that was over 6 years ago. And Jace has been with me ever since. It's been a pretty long weekend that we're showing now, but we just got through the adoption process, and that's our little boy, and that's our village. So Kids Club is definitely our village in Bowling Green. We couldn't do it without them. So when we got Jace, we definitely thought failure to thrive. And we had noticed some signs that he really wasn't responding. So we actually had to set timers for him. And this is the most heartbreaking memory I have, is I had to set timers in my home for this infant because he didn't cry ever. He didn't respond. He didn't turn. He couldn't sit up. I remember when the police officer brought him in, they handed him to me. Like, he was big, he was chunky, and he just fell backwards. And he was 8 months old, and he still needed head and neck support. And we had to set timers as reminders, that he needs to be fed, he needs to be changed. We need to try to interact and change his position because he didn't fuss, So I would go to these pediatricians and, these doctor's appointments and just, oh yeah, okay, we'll follow back up. And I was getting so frustrated that, I felt like social services just left this kid with me. They closed the case. So they didn't care because you're not a foster parent. You're not an open case. He's not in immediate danger. So, anytime I called them, well, the case is closed. We hadn't heard from parents. We couldn't get a true story. And we're beating on doctors' doors and begging for appointments and begging for a test and someone to put Jace first. And I was so frustrated with the system. Like, what about Jace? Who is out here fighting for him? And then I realized, as a parent of my own child or Jace, we had to. No one was going to do it for him. We were going to have to be his advocates and say, I don't care who I offend. I don't care how many times I have to call. I'm going to force you to make him a priority. I'm going to put him first. So that's when we decided, after about 3, that, we were just going to adopt him, and we were going to make sure that he was put first. So Jace has been diagnosed with cerebral palsy. He also has epilepsy and a history of seizures. He can't walk or stand, but he's made so much progress. So one of the first neurologists had told us, we're not sure how he's alive, and he won't walk. He probably will not have the ability to sit up or crawl. He is deaf, so he's not going to respond. He's not going to hear. And because of his brain signals and the damage, he's probably not going to be able to communicate. Within a year, we had Jace responding. We had him signing. By the time he was 4, we had him military crawling. And now he's 7. And while other people see him as behind and struggling, I just see thriving. So a normal kind of day for us, because this did come from family, we can't leave Jace with just anyone. And especially with his medical needs, we don't have the luxury of saying, hey, can you watch Jace for an hour? Or, my husband and I want to go out, or we have this wedding or family event, could you keep him overnight? We don't have that. We're at work and Jace is at kids club, or we have Jace, and that is 24/7. And the days I have off from work, we're at the children's hospital. We're having speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy. We're having school meetings and IEP, and we're having a ENT and his neurologist and his nephrologist and his gastroenterologist. We have all these appointments. There's no downtime. So, that's like today. 3 of us have already said, oh, we're at work and we're coming out to join in. But we're coming out to join in because this is so important. It's so important to reach out and say, yes, you're overwhelmed. That's okay. Yes, you're going to shortfall here. That's okay. We're going to find ways that our community can build up with each other, and that we as parents can be okay with saying, hey, I need help. I need help. I need support. I need direction. I need a resource, or information. I've never dealt with this. I've never seen this before. I had never dealt with a child with cerebral palsy. I had never dealt with anyone having a seizure in front of me. And this is normal to me now. It doesn't faze me at all. It's our normal. Jace's normal is to be in a wheelchair. He doesn't see it as a limitation because that's his normal. So just getting out and vocalizing this with our community and reaching out to them and letting them know it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to put these resources out there. And when you're overwhelmed, where they can rely on, because sometimes it's just a trust issue. And when we celebrated our adoption this month, the first thing we did was we called Kids Club. Before we called a family member or sent out a text, we were messaging Kids Club, because that's our family, that's our village. And one of the things we did in this photo was I had masks made, and my mask actually said, it takes a village. And the mask I gave to Kids Club said, we are the village, because that kind of love and support there, you're not just going to find that everywhere. So I'm hoping this meeting today kind of brings this open dialogue that some of the parents need to hear, and some of the providers and community just needs to hear.
Thank you, Casey.
Thanks, Debbie.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Jeff.
All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you for allowing me into this wonderful space. Kudos to my parents, and thank you for sharing the ladies before me. I have the honor of being the only male on the panel, which is really awesome. We're talking about, parent support and things of that nature. Not only am I a parent, I am the community outreach coordinator for 502 Fathers here in Louisville, Kentucky, where we're focused on empowering dads and workshops for dads and resources for dads. Because as we know, everywhere in the country, most services will, 90% of all services and resources are geared towards mom. And I have no problem with that. That's awesome. I was raised by a single mom for a large portion of my life. So I know what it is to go through WIC and welfare and some of those things that you have to deal with. But when I became a parent, I'm an older parent. I have a 9-year-old daughter. I had my first child, my first and only at 40, because I felt like I was finally in a space of my life where I could be responsible and I wasn't worrying about hanging out with my friends and being young and all of this stuff. So it finally just came a time in my life where I was good. 12 nieces and nephews. So I am not foreign to changing diapers and babysitting. But when the child is yours and solely yours, and there is no, well, let me return you to your rightful owner, it was definitely eye-opening for me. A typical day for me, excuse me, prior to COVID, I had just got laid off. First time ever in my life that I was laid off. So I was devastated. Not going to sit here and say that it didn't affect me. I was probably in one of the lowest points of my life because I didn't see myself as being valuable. Being a provider, taking care of your family, your wife, my wife, and my daughter. And here I am. Everybody has things going on. My daughter's doing her thing as a 9-year-old. My wife's still working. And I'm sitting at home every day. And at that point in time, it really showed me who was really in my corner and who was really supporting me. A lot of times you would get the cliche, well, if I hear something out here for you, I'll send you an email or your resume, or how can I help, those things. Some people really had great intentions, and then other people, I felt like it was just something to say, or that's the cliche thing to say. Coming out of that, getting this great opportunity to work with fathers, it's important to me to let these parents know that, like everybody else is saying, you're not alone. The number one thing that I would give to my male viewers is self-care. You got to take care of yourself so you're in a good position that you can provide for your paramour, your mate, your kids, the family, the people that depend on you. And that self-care for me was taking additional trainings in regards to working with young people. Finding weightlifting and walking. I took a lot of walks, but again, it's that self-care that you have to figure out what is best for you and what support do you need, because everybody's dependent on you. One of the greatest things that I have going on in my life right now, and I'm very proud, I think most people should be aware of ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, and going through a few trainings and learning with Bounce and Face It, I identified the ACEs that I had in my life that I wasn't aware of, but I saw how they kind of structured me and let me know how I ended up the person that I am. I am very happy to, knock on wood, right now, my daughter does not have one ACE, 0. And I'm going to work very hard to ensure that she keeps going in that direction. The absolute greatest thing about being a parent is watching your kids smile. You're going to mess up. We're not perfect. We're overwhelmed. The kids work our nerves. It's not their fault. They're kids. They eat all the time. They have 1,000 questions. My daughter starts off with a question, asks you another question, and then when you give her an answer, she's going to ask you about the question, about the answer. I mean, it's just repetitive. I don't get a lot of peace and quiet until everybody is asleep. So sometimes I'm walking around the house at 12:30, 1 a.m., and it's not because I'm just up. It's like finally I have peace and quiet, and I need to figure out what is going on next. So to my parents, you're not alone. My men, my male caregivers, you are very vital. You're very important. Know your worth. You are very important to everybody, and you're important to the village. So when they say it takes a village, truly takes a village, that is not something that's just being said. Find your support. It is out there. So thank you all, and I'm going to sit back and listen to everybody else.
I had a couple of things, Debbie, if that's okay, that resonated with me with what the other parents said. I know Casey, she brought up like don't be afraid to ask for help. But then Juliana had brought up just that like self-doubt, like when you get help and then it's like, well, I can't do it. you know, and it goes back to like talking about the balance. That's hard because like even just guilt, you know, like I need childcare a lot, but if I were to get childcare every single day, then it's like, am I just shuffling my kids around? Am I just bringing them to that person and that person and that person? Because I can't leave them at home with their dad because he's not there. So it's like, if I were to go to the store and have someone watch them, if I were to go out with my friends and have someone watch them, then it's like, I'm just dumping my kids every day. So that's hard for finding balance as well. And then Casey, she also mentioned how like some of the adaptations that they have for their child, are they normal? But for me, I think I relate to that. I do with my children because both of them have different delays. It's normal for me in my day because I just wake up and I do what they need. And we just kind of get wrapped up in our routine. But it does make it hard for me to reach out to other people because when I'm around other people, especially kids their age or even kids younger, it makes me self-conscious because then I notice, oh, that child that's a year or two younger is doing more than my child. Or people will say things well-meaning, but it's kind of hurtful, like, well, just take that thing away. That's a baby thing from the child. It's like, oh, I never thought about that. I used to get a lot when they were babies, like just, you know, Jeff was talking about self-care. People used to say, sleep when they're sleeping. Everybody wants to say that when you're a parent. Like that's like the key advice for new parents. Sleep when there's when are two babies sleeping at the same time? I have twins. There's no sleep here. And then if I sleep when they're sleeping, when does everything else get done? So I'm just going to be napping with the babies all day. So I get some rest. But I mean, I was breastfeeding. I had to pump when they were asleep and I had to wash all the parts and all this stuff. And then I had to eat to make sure I could keep up with that and drink all this water and take the trash out. And I mean, it was just like around the clock. And then Jeff also brought up cliches. And I know, I don't know if he said this or it just is one, but people will say they'll help and, you know, let me know what you need, you know, that's a challenge for me too, because I don't know what people mean by that all the time. And sometimes people will say it to me and I'm like, oh, thank you. You know, it's like when someone asks you how you're doing, do you really tell them how you're doing? Or do you just say, fine, I'm doing great, thanks, bye. Like, you know, do I really need to tell you, like, pull out the list and be like, well, now that you asked, I've been really suffering lately. You know, so I find that when people offer help or I just kind of like shelf it, like, oh, okay, thanks. I think sometimes just being specific, I would say that to parents that are offering help to other parents, that for me would be helpful. If somebody said, I'm willing to help you, I will just take your trash out. Okay, well, I know if I need my trash taken out, I can call you. Or if someone says, you know, I'll pick up your car and take it to get an oil change for you when you need to do that. Like that's new. Or even as far as, I saw a post on Facebook a couple of weeks ago on a local mom's page, and someone was asking how much to pay a babysitter that's going to work overnight because they're going on like a day trip, her and her husband. And people were saying like $200. And I don't have that kind of money. I'm paying for everything. So I think even knowing that, you know, if someone says they'll offer to watch your kids, do you just mean if I go to the grocery store or a doctor's appointment, or are you actually going to help me like have a longer break? Like how comfortable are we? So those are just some of the things I thought about when they were talking.
And if I could jump in one more time too, I just wanted to say, because I was sitting here after listening to the other parents talking, and I was thinking about how, you know, how I had lost custody of my children due to my own bad choices, right? And how like getting my kids back and like sometimes I find myself still trying to make up for that time that I was gone, and parenting out of guilt and just you know, trying to, you know, feeling like I need to always let my kids know that I love them. Well, guess what? My kids know that I love them, right? What I'm doing is like I'm creating ways for them to, you know, just saying that it's okay to make bad choices. And that's why I had to start putting consequences on actions for them. you know, being a mom and and to my mothers and my fathers out there who were separated from their kids for a while, like it's okay to still discipline your kids, right? So, and I had to learn that through experience, that it's okay to discipline my kids. It's okay to, you know, I do co-parent with my kid's dad, and they live 6 hours away from me. So, you know, just the other week, they just got back on Saturday, and so last Saturday, and so while they was gone, you know, I had time to go, look, I got my nails done. I had some lashes on, you know, but every step of the way, you know, I'm feeling guilty and remorseful that I was doing something for myself, because I'm used to, since I got custody back of my kids almost 2 years ago, I'm used to just taking care of what they need, you know. What I need is not important. So, you know, and I bring that up because somebody was talking about self-care, and that self-care piece is real important. Like, we don't have to feel guilty because we do something for ourselves. It's okay to do for me today. It's okay to you know, and also when it comes to co-parenting, you know, my in-laws, they said, you know, they had the kids for 3 weeks, and I was supposed to get them back around Easter. And I told you they live in Atlanta, Georgia, so it's like 6 hours away from Kentucky where I'm at. And so they said, well, can we keep the kids one more week? And I'm like, no, you know, I'm missing my kids. But when you co-parenting, you know, I try to be fair, and I try to, the other parent, just as well as I'm missing my kids for 3 weeks, when they come back here, they'll be here for 2 months, and they're missing them as well. And so I try to be fair and accept the help, because the other piece is that when you ask me, oh, we'll get the kids, like I can't handle it or something. So a lot of pride and ego gets in the way, and and I have to check myself and my motives and my opportunities. I you know, you know, the saying about is the glass half empty or is it half full? You know, I got to continue to think of my cup as half full instead of half empty. People is not looking at me saying, oh, you can't take care of these kids, when they asking me if I need help, right? What they saying is, take a break. I see you working hard, baby. It's about the way I perceive, you know, people's intentions and just the world around me in general. And so I want to share that with y'all. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Juliana. You make a great point of you know, we and all of you have mentioned different struggles that you have as a parent, kind of maybe at times doubting your parenting skills, wondering like, hey, am I messing up my kids? I can relate to that as well. But taking opportunities whenever you have them is so very important. And you've all mentioned like the need for support. Sometimes it's difficult to ask for support because maybe you just don't want to ask, or maybe you're not sure what to ask for. And then maybe there's people who that they want to offer support to you, but they're vague, which is not always helpful. So let's just go into some, if you guys can give some suggestions of, as a parent, what is helpful? Like, what do you need as a parent? You could maybe talk about like a time that somebody did help you that was extremely helpful, or maybe when you had a need and it wasn't met, but how it could have been, how somebody could have helped you during that time. So anyone who wants to jump in there is fine.
Okay, so for me, so like I said, I'm actually graduating on Saturday, so I'm pretty excited. But I'm a part of an organization called Choose Well Communities, and if you don't know, please look them up on thank you. Please look them up on Facebook. But Choose Well has always been helpful because they have taught me they pull outside sources in, you know, to help us as parents. And so like with the discipline part, like I didn't know what to do, you know. They've helped with financial situations, and just they have just so many resources for me, you know. Even other women in my recovery So I'm a member of AA, and even other members, you know, I look to them for support, um for you know, parenting skills and just somebody to talk to. But one thing for me is that if I reach out to you one time and you say, if you tell me, all right, call me if you need me, if you need my help, da, 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 and I call you one time and you say, oh, well, I'm not available right now, that automatically, I used to shut down off of that. And so it's important that we not exclude people. It may have been the wrong time. We may not have been specific about what we needed help with. And everybody's not able to help with everything, you know? And so I think it's important for me that I remember that God is going to place people in my life. And, you know, some things I just got to take care of for myself. So it's important, again, that I just continue, like, for certain things, when I want something, I'm going to keep going for it, right? But when it comes down to help, if I ask one person and they're not able to help me, and I feel like, never mind, I don't need no help, you know? When, you know, that's like if I wanted, you know, something else or whatever. Because I always relate everything back to my addiction and whatnot. And I say, you know, when I wanted the drugs, I was out there. And if you didn't have it, I would go to you. If she didn't have it, I would go to him. I would be all up and down through the whole neighborhood trying to find what I want. But when it comes down to the things that I want right now and the help that I need, you know, it's like if one person can't help me, then I just shut down. So I had to continue to practice reaching out to people, not letting the phone be so heavy. And a lot of time it just really has to do with my pride, because I don't want to show my vulnerability. I don't want people to think I'm weak, or, you know, and one of my fears as you know, getting my kids back into my life is that I run off of this, is that I'll lose my kids again for something that's beyond my control. And so what I had to realize is that if I continue to do the next right thing and taking care of my kids to the best of my ability, nobody's just going to come in and say, hey, give me these kids back. You can't have them because you know what? They don't have the latest sneakers or something. It's, you know, and trying to keep up with the Joneses and all of that. So I'm real grateful that I have an awesome support group, and I don't utilize, you know, everybody every single day. But so I have learned to know when to start pulling people in, you know, and so I think that's a very important thing to do. That's what
I wanted to touch on something from my perspective, and I'm happy to hear this for you all, but I just want to share something that's difficult for me to listen to is, you know, Casey has Kids Club, that's her support, and Juliana has Choose Well. And I think a need for me as a parent is like, I don't have anybody that takes any of the burden, and not even physical things, just the mental burden of like, nobody cares when my children need a bigger shoe size, or, you know, nobody knows when they have doctor's appointments. Like, I'm the one that's carrying all that in my head all the time. Like, I'm keeping up when they get sick. I'm the one that's doing that when they don't sleep well at night. And I don't have anybody to even like to tell that stuff to. So that's a lot. And I know there are some community partners here in organizations, but I did at one point, and I'm just going to put it out there, I'm being vulnerable, but I did have a case manager through the insurance, because my kids are preemies, both of them, and they were in the NICU. And it was through Medicaid, and I don't have anybody else to share things with. So I don't know if I just misread the boundaries, but I was like kind of going to that person to vent, you know, if I didn't understand the appointment, because my son goes to specialists, and specialists, their bedside manner is funny. Like, they're really, really super intelligent people. And so like, I just don't really understand what they say all the time. And I'm like, okay, thank you. And they just throw like a lot of worst case scenarios at you and a lot of like statistics at you. And so I kind of got in this habit of like, every time my son had an appointment, I would like call, you know, the insurance case manager, because I'm like, they're usually nurses and stuff. And I'm like, what did that mean? Is that okay? Like, what do I do? And the person ended up reporting me to Child Protective Services. And so that has been really hard for me, and that has broken my trust into to deal with these community partners and organizations that are trying to help people, because I didn't have anybody to call anyway. And then I thought that you were my person to call, and that's what you did. So that's left me feeling a lot more self-conscious, overthinking more, and putting a lot more load on myself, because now it's like, great, if I'm not perfect, like Giuliana said, like she's worrying about her kids being taken away. If I'm not perfect now, my kids are going to get taken away because I can't tell anyone anything anymore. And so I'm very happy for them that they have that. But I would say, you know, because I know there are parents listening, but also the community partners and nonprofits that are listening, I think that it's really important to like be sensitive to people that you're working with. And if you're not really there to help them, just leave them alone. You know, like if you're offering help, please actually be helpful.
So if I can jump in here and kind of piggyback off of what she was saying there. I heard a couple kind of consistencies between all of our stories today, even though we have all completely different backgrounds. And it's this almost feeling of guilt and definitely fear, you know, are we messing up? Or, you know, if we mess up, what are the consequences? You know, our child's development, our child's growth, their health, or even social services stepping in. So we have so many different backgrounds, but yet all of us have kind of dealt with these same feelings, these same emotions. And, you know, she talked about the specialist. So there are providers on here. And one thing I really just want to ask is take the time to listen. We spent 3 months waiting for this appointment, not to mention the times before that where we had to call around till we could find what we actually needed because we didn't know. We drove the 2 hours in traffic with our screaming child in the back the whole time to the children's hospital by ourselves because with the pandemic, we can't take somebody if we had somebody. To sit in the lobby, to finally get that appointment. And you're talking while our child is screaming or needs a diaper change, or, you know, from mine takes off in his wheelchair down the hallway. And I actually had a specialist who kept talking while I was trying to like go get my kid. It takes 2 minutes to say, hey, mom, take a breath. Just take a breath. Take a breather. Hold on, just 2 seconds. We're going to write all this down for you. We're going to print it out. We're going to give you an email. We'll send it to you. We know you have your hands full today. Don't feel like, you know, all of this you have to understand right now. And for me, that's the hardest part. I get all these medical terms that I don't understand. You know, God forbid I turn to Google. I'm going to be scared to death and up all night. So, you know, it's really hard when you take off from work, you make all these appointments, you're already under so much stress to balance it all. And then you get to them and it feels like a judgment zone immediately. You know, the questions, the repeated questions, and, you know, maybe I'm not doing this right, or maybe I just didn't know. And then you have a caseworker or a doctor or, you know, someone who just starts in with the list and the terms. And, you know, if I'm asking a provider what would help me, it's 2 seconds. 2 seconds to say, okay, get his snacks out of the bag, give him his crackers, and then we'll go over this. Taking the realization that we want that appointment, we want that knowledge that you have so bad. We want to help our child any way we can. Today just might not be a good day. They dictate our day. And then with caseworkers, you know, it's the same thing from someone who's taken in a kid and people who have had kids removed from them. We need someone to listen and to feel like we're being heard without repercussion. You know, I'm not saying, you know, if it's not an emergency, you know, we understand you have a hard job to do, but it doesn't take very long to take that extra 5 minutes and say, okay, what do you need? Take a breath. What can we figure out? Don't assume we know what resources are out there. I had no idea about some of the resources that were out there. I had to find them out on my own. No caseworker told me about it. You know, no doctor told me about it. And some of these things they deal with every day. They see every day. But as a mom, it wasn't every day for me at the time. And we shouldn't have to feel that kind of stress or judgment or worry on top of what we're already dealing with. And if you're a parent, you know, I hope you are willing to either ask for help, or if you're willing to help someone, or, you know, your mom friend that is a single mom, or your dad that is, you know, trying. If you're offering help, be specific. Sometimes it makes a big difference for us if you say, hey, you know, I'm off every Monday, and this was something we kind of talked about yesterday. I'm off on this day. Is there something on that day I can do for you? You know, or if I can take your older kid to practice because you have appointments with your younger kid this day, you know, I can do that. I'm on my way. My son goes. Sometimes when you're offering help, it really helps us, instead of offering that blanket statement, hey, if you need something, let me know, to say, this is what I'm comfortable doing. Because I don't want to ask anybody to watch my kid because he has medical complexities. So even someone who says, hey, I'll watch him, probably not.
Thank you, Valerie, for sharing. We're going to need to close out here. I want to give Jeff just the opportunity, if you want to real quick mention some suggestions of what would be helpful to you.
Yes, real quick, I'm gonna talk from both sides of the fence. I am a social worker, been doing social services since 2002. So I was in charge of child. It was a lot of titles. Let me put it like that. When I received the case, my job was to empower the family and not remove the kids. Anytime that I walked in the house, and this is in the city of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, anytime I walked in the house, the parents, the caregivers, the families always assumed that I was coming in there to remove their kids. My thing as a case manager, and to all my nonprofits, all my provider agencies that are watching, you have to meet them where they are. Not, this is what I'm supposed to do. And of course, we're mandated reporters and we have to, you know, tell what we see and have to record everything. But I walk in and I'm transparent. I'm saying I'm here to empower you. I'm here to help. I don't like cold handoffs. I don't like saying, a parent saying, hey, this is a resource I need, and I'm just going to give you a phone number and say, call it, good luck. No, we're going to call that phone number together. And if it's not what you need, it's not what I need. So from that standpoint, a provider agency, we have to remain human. I have been on the other side of the fence when I was a parent and I was in the absolute low point of my life, laid off, not being able to provide for my family, dealing with Kentucky's unemployment system, so forth, the pandemic, a 9-year-old third grader. It was ridiculous, but I do know that there were certain people and certain organizations that said, hey, there is support for you, or this is what you should do. And those are the people that you have to kind of muddle through and see who means what they're saying. Am I here because this is just a stepping stone for me in my master's program to become another position somewhere else? Or am I actually looking you in your face saying that you have a problem and it concerns me that your kids aren't doing well and that you're not doing well, and I'm going to do everything that I can to support you? And that's what we try to do with Healthy Babies Louisville 502 Fathers. It's about the dad, because men don't ask for help. We can walk in our eye socket to be falling out, and they're like, well, you need to go to a doctor. No, I'm fine. Just give me some duct tape and I'm good to go. No, when you need help, to my parents, if there's something that you need and there's a case manager, a WIC person, a resource worker, community outreach, you tell them. And if they're not giving you what you need, then you tell them to give me somebody else who's going to meet my demands. So that's my thing. I just got emotional about it, but thank you guys. And I'm a mute.
Thanks, guys. And I'm just going to close out with a couple of thoughts here. One thing is I just think about, so the phrase linger at the table. Whenever my kids were growing up, we had I got tired of correcting them like over, how to behave at the table. So I put up on the wall, like, different table rules, right? And the last one was linger at the table. And that just came to my mind right now because I think about, like, we've had some time together just to hear people's stories and just kind of linger. And I think that's part of building community, is just kind of, we're all busy and it's easy maybe just to pass along somebody and I got to get to this appointment or I have to do this. If we linger for a minute, that's what's going to help us build authentic relationships. And if you listen, then you're going to find opportunities of what you can do to connect with that person. So just some things that stood out as far as how to help is to be intentional, to follow through, to be specific, and do your best to listen. And then we encourage parents to be vulnerable and be patient with yourself, take care of yourself. We know that there's the constant struggle for balance. But yeah, don't be afraid to ask for help, because none of us as parents, we all have moments that we feel like we're not doing it right. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and close out. We'll send a follow-up email with resources to everyone who participated. And again, I just want to thank you so much, the parent panel, for being authentic and being real with us. We appreciate it. All right, guys, have a good day.